I'm going to show you this counterintuitive way to create content that practically forces people to give you money in the most ethical way possible, as you're going to see. Now, somebody can take this formula that I'm about to show you and they can use this for evil. And you'll see examples where people have used this for evil. But I'm going to trust as a good servant that wants to actually help people, will use this to influence and persuade your ideal clients to want to work with you. So, without further ado, I'm going to walk you through what I call the Think and Grow Rich formula for creating content that magnetically attracts your dream clients. I call this the Belief Cascade Framework, otherwise known in my world as the BTAR-F. And I'm going to unpack what this means and how you can apply this directly into any post that you write, videos that you do, reels even, captions, emails, VSLs, whatever it is that you are creating. I'm going to show you how to infuse this formula to be able to get more clients. Now, a quick little background here on how this came about. So I come from the gym world. I was a firefighter, long story, electrocuted, got in shape, loved fitness. So I started to train people, and then I built my own gym. And when running my own gym, I didn't really need to focus so much on creating online content back then. I started probably around 2016 making videos and stuff like that. But it was a lot of like in the streets, in the trenches. And I wish I knew this formula because it works equally well for in-person, for speaking and things like that. But I just hit the boots to the ground, knocking on doors, and I was able to fill up my gym to 300 base members, serve thousands of people. But it wasn't until I transitioned into online, and this is like 2019-ish, and it was just like so different to me. And like how you create content to try to get clients, to try to get the leads and clients and stuff like that. And I remember going throughout 2019 to 2021, I basically did a live video every day. Now, there would be some days I would take off, but pretty much Monday through Sunday, I would do a live video, and I was just trying to share helpful stuff. And I had to amass a small audience. I had about 1,000 people that were actively following my videos. And so I was able to grow to 100 clients. But on that journey, it was just so up and down, and it was so inconsistent. And the thing that really got me to understand what I'm about to show you is I remember posting content, and it would get pretty good engagement sometimes. Like I would do a post and I might get 50, 60, 70 comments of people wanting a lead magnet or people wanting to join a challenge or something like that. But like very few of them would convert. Like it was so inconsistent. Like it'd be more tire kickers than it would be like ideal clients, if you get what I'm saying. And so one day I was reading this book, and it was all about persuasion, and it was written by a guy. The guy, he's no longer alive, but his name is Eugene Schwartz. And I was like, let me try to apply some of these principles into what I'm actually like posting. And sure enough, like I made a post, and I think the next day I had 12 or maybe 13, somewhere around there, just DMs, inbound DMs of people being like, hey, can you please show me what you're talking about? And it was all around this nutrition framework that I was teaching at the time. And I was just so like mind blown. I was like, what? And I didn't really know what part of it worked, but I was able to deep dive. And this is like the first instance where I really started to fall in love with influence and persuasion. And then fast forward a few months, and I had generated maybe 20 to 30 clients. We were doing like 20, 30K per month at that point. And I was like, all right. And like my whole content game shifted. And over the years, I've now trained and coached and even consulted, had my hands in the businesses of over 400 health and fitness coaches, different, even gyms and in-person businesses as well, not as well as online. And I like just stumbled upon this, is I was like, this is like this framework that they teach in Think and Grow Rich for us to be able to change our beliefs and change our thoughts and change our behaviors and our actions. And I was like, this works really well as a copywriting framework inside of content. And so fast forward here, right? I want to give you this little insight here where it's like what the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. And this was said by Napoleon Hill. And so I want to show you how to apply this principle into your content so you can have similar results to I've gotten with content, which is we've generated now 2.2 or 2.3 million off of one offer from using these principles. And so I started to teach this to clients the first time, and this is maybe about a year ago. And it was a typical Tuesday afternoon, and I was on a group coaching call with some of my top clients, and we were deep diving into their content strategies. So like inside of my inner circle or my co-creation offer, a lot of times we'll just hop on calls together and I help audit their content. I'll look at their hooks, the angles they're using, the call to actions, and I help them make it better. And so while we were dissecting some of the posts, what seemed to resonate deeply with others, I watched the same type of like content they were teaching with others that fell flat. And that's when it hit me. After we analyzed a successful post, I noticed this pattern. And the content didn't just speak to the audience's problems. It addressed their underlying beliefs. It was like watching dominoes fall. Like literally, it was just such a mind-blowing moment when we were all in the Zoom call together. It's one of these you got to be there. I'm hopefully articulating it as best as I can. And everything else followed once we got people to believe. So it doesn't matter what you're selling, whether it's you're selling weight loss services, a program, you're selling relationship coaching, you're selling business coach. It doesn't matter. Like this, you get people to believe a core belief within your marketing, within your content. All the other dominoes fall. And Russell Brunson talks about this a bit bigger in his book. I think it's like .com Secrets, where he talks about the Epiphany Bridge. Oh no, is it the Epiphany Bridge? It's the domino belief or something like that. And so excited, I started mapping this out on a Google Doc for the first time, this framework that I'm about to teach you. And it was like beliefs lead to thoughts, thoughts lead to actions, action leads to results to feelings. And that was like BTAR-F. It was a simple acronym that would literally change everything to how I started to teach content. And so the energy in the virtual room at the time was freaking electric, man. Like my clients could see it too. We were onto something big. I was so excited. I was stumbling over my words. And the next few weeks, I tested this framework relentlessly. So I had applied it previously without actually having a framework. I didn't know what I was doing. I just was like, I'm trying to shift the belief. But once we figured out this framework, we applied it to emails, social media posts, sales pages, you name it, and the results were staggering. One of my clients saw her engagement skyrocket overnight. And not just like vanity metrics, like she literally saw her engagement with ideal clients just like double overnight from her Facebook profile. Literally, like she made a post and she had, like, I think 2,000-ish friends, like 2,000, something like that. And like she literally got 100 in, I can't remember the exact numbers, but it was over 100 leads, like ideal clients that were raising hands. It was nuts. And another booked more calls in a week than he had in a previous month for his weight loss offer. And for me, I woke up with a flood of DMs when I actually like intentionally applied this framework of people that were eager to work into an offer that I was promoting at the time. And so it's not just about saying clever words. It's we had tapped into something deeper. And this is the power of what you're going to see as belief engineering. Okay, so we've refined this process and I've come up with a framework. And it's been hiding in plain sight for decades, man. People like Tony Robbins and Simon Sinek, they've been using elements of this all along. All I've done is simply crystallized it into a repeatable copywriting framework that we can use. And this is what the belief cascade system is. And so I want you to really understand this, and then we're going to unpack the framework and I'm going to give you examples. The only way to get people to engage with your content and buy your stuff is by getting them to believe what you need them to believe. You're not selling just a product or service. You're selling a belief system. Write that down. You are selling a belief system, right? If you've ever read about Steve Jobs, he transformed Apple not because he had better technology, but he sold the belief system of thinking differently, of being an innovator, of being ahead of the curve. He sold that belief system within his company, within the investors that he had. And once you believe those things as a consumer or as an employee or as an investor, you bought into Apple, right? I do this with my kids. I don't know about you, but to get maybe a little guilt trip here, but to get them to eat their food, I'll tell them there's kids that are starving here in America, here in other countries, and they believe it because it's true, and then they'll eat their food versus just arguing, blah, blah, blah. And now you need to do this deliberately in your business if you want to get more prospects to buy. So let me show you how this works. So you're going to have a belief, right? This is going to be the cause. So everything that we do as humans, that our prospects are going to do, comes from a belief system. So if you've ever tried to tell a prospect, say you're in weight loss and you're like, hey, you just need to eat healthier and work out. You just need to get your macros dialed in. And they're like, it's easy for you to say. You don't know. And they might not say this out loud, but they might believe this. It's my genetics. My metabolism's wrecked. No, this is just the way it's supposed to be now that I'm in my 40s. They have a belief, and their belief is going to dictate their thoughts, which are going to dictate their behaviors and their actions. And so that thought then leads to that belief leads to a thought or a series of thoughts. This is an effect, right? And that's going to cause them some type of action or inaction, right? They're either going to take an action or not take an action. And so when you are posting content, I want you to hear me here. When you're posting content and you have some kind of call to action, if you want people to take that action, you have to change their belief. That's going to get them to think differently. And I'm going to show you how to do this in a second with some examples. And then that action or inaction gives them a result, right? Or results. This is going to be another effect, right? That's going to produce a feeling. They're going to feel some type of way, which is an effect. So everything starts with the belief, which is the cause. And so here's an example for maybe a fitness coach. I'm not good enough to get clients. It's hard to find or to get clients. Right? Their thoughts are going to be, no one wants what I have to offer. I never know where to find clients. So if their belief is, I'm not good enough to get clients or finding clients is hard, their thoughts are going to be, nobody wants this. It's really hard. The market's saturated, right? It's going to stem from their beliefs. And guess what their actions are going to be? They're going to do nothing, or they're going to try more tactics and get overwhelmed. The results are going to be minimal to no clients. And they're going to feel defeated, ashamed, and frustrated. So if I was trying to shift a coach's belief to make them feel, so you see how powerful this is? Like, people can use this for evil to sell you some baloney, and they do. But you as a coach, you want to use this in an empowering way to influence people. So if I was trying to influence a coach that was maybe not feeling good enough or feeling like it's really hard, I might shift their belief with saying the truth, right? And this is the secret. You've got to infuse the truth into people. The truth will set you free. And so if I tell people the truth, hey, the reason it's hard to get clients for you right now is because your messaging isn't matching what your market wants to hear. If it was, they would want what you have to offer. So you need to get your messaging to get more dialed in. You've got to say the right words in the right way to the right people. And if you could do this in a unique and compelling way, when you post content, when you put out your offer, more people are going to want it. And then I could go into shifting it, which I'll explain how in a second. But if I do this effectively, people are going to say, okay, it's going to change from no one wants what I have to offer. Their thoughts are like, how do I fix my messaging? And then this is going to now change their behavior. It's going to change their action. They're going to start wanting to learn how to get their messaging to be dialed in. They're going to want to learn how to create more compelling and unique messaging. Okay, this is the power, because now it's going to change the results and it's going to make them feel more hopeful, more courageous. So this is insanely powerful. And so here's an example. I'm going to show you an example for business, and then I'm going to show you an example for weight loss, right? A coach that's struggling with business growth. This is how I would infuse this inside of marketing. So orange is going to be belief. I'm colorblind, but I think I made it purple or blue is going to be the feeling. The red is going to be the actions, and the green is going to be the thoughts, just so we see where this is infused. So this could be me leading into the post. If you're getting minimal to no clients and feeling defeated, despite posting content daily and DMing 50 plus people a day, and perhaps you think no one has what you want to offer, or you just don't know where to find clients, at least not consistently, I get it. I've been there too. So this is where I go in to start shifting the belief, right? And so for me, I'm typically going to use some type of personal story or metaphor or analogy. And I think Russell Brunson talks about this as the kinda like bridge. That's where a metaphor or an analogy can go in. So it's like this. And that gets people to be like, oh, so they can relate what you're trying to get them to believe to something that they already understand. Does that make sense? So it's super powerful. I like using stories. I'm going to lean more towards using a client case study or a personal story 9 times out of 10, just because it's easier for me, because I just share my experiences and people are going to choose to accept it or not, right? And then what we want to do after we use a story or metaphor and analogy is we want to tell them the truth. The truth is, in order to get clients consistently, you need to think like a 6-figure coach, meaning you need to ingrain, right? So this is just an example. So the blue is what you want them to believe. What do you want them to believe? This is why our most successful clients use a 6-figure subconscious thinking system, right? Now I remember where this is from. One of my clients before, his name was Matt. He had an offer that was similar to this, and I was creating this on the call, and he was on there. Now I was like, why did I put this? But now I remember, right? And so now we get them to change what we need them to do. This is why our most successful clients use a 6-figure thinking system. So this is the new action that we want them to take. This is a unique mechanism, a big idea that we want to get them to buy into. So once they believe this belief, they're going to now be curious about what your action, your mechanism, the solution is. Does that make sense? So it's a way of operating that lands them daily inquiries and new clients every week, right? So this is the result that we're showing them is possible for them once they believe this and they implement that. And then this is now a thought we want them to have. Imagine waking up every morning to an inbox full of inbound DMs. So then we can have a very simple CTA. So if you're ready to finally get desired outcome in the next 90 days without thing they hate, DM me this keyword. So if we've done this effectively, you're going to get more people to want to buy into your stuff. Let's do one more example. Imagine moms that are trying to lose baby weight. So I might say, if you are struggling to lose that stubborn baby weight, right? You're not alone. Many moms find themselves battling extra pounds long after giving birth, despite their best efforts. Do you see how we're infusing this? And so you don't always have to include all of them up on every post, but 9 times out of 10, you likely will. And then I might say, it's frustrating, isn't it? You've tried crash diets, you've squeezed in workouts during nap times, you've cut your favorite foods, yet the scale barely budges. Meanwhile, you're exhausted from sleepless nights and endless responsibilities. Your favorite clothes still don't fit, and you feel less confident in your own skin. It seems like your body will never be the same again. Boom. Do you see how powerful this is when we infuse all of these triggers? And the worst part, you barely have time to take care of yourself. This kind of taps into a whole nother copywriting framework that I teach called mind match messaging. This is more of an advanced thing that I teach to my advanced students. And it's where you're what we call pain triggers and desire triggers. We are literally tapping into things that are going on inside of their mind right now. But we'll save that for another video. And then to shift the belief now. So once they're like, okay, this coach obviously knows me, because if you can put things this clearly, you got to know your person. So now they're going to listen. So you tell them a story, a metaphor, an analogy to shift their belief, right, into the truth. The truth is, the secret to losing that stubborn baby weight is what I call metabolic manipulation, right? So this would be the big idea that you want them to believe in this example. That's right. You have to manipulate your metabolism. And then, of course, you could tell a client story or a personal story of how you did this and the results that you got. And then you tell them what you want them to think. Imagine waking up every morning feeling confident in your body when you look in the mirror. All right? Now they're going to start to think this. When you manipulate your metabolism by dialing in your calories, getting your proportions right for fat loss, blah, 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 whatever your things are. So these are the actions you want them to take. Then you're going to have these types of results. And then you give them a clear CTA. This is how powerful this can be. And so I want you to try out this framework today. Don't try to get it perfect. This takes people a while to infuse, but I want you to think about what is that 1 to 2 core beliefs that they have that are keeping them from taking the actions that you know they need to take to get results. So if they think that they need to eat healthy to lose weight, and so they go on diets because in their mind that's what they think is healthy, then you need to get them to believe that it's about eating right, that it's about dialing in their calories. And you have to tell that story to shift their beliefs in a compelling way. And you have to present them with some kind of alternative. And you don't want it to be boring. You want to have some kind of big idea, right? So if I could, what blew up for me, going full circle back to the story I told you, was people were like, Jason, metabolism is slow. No matter what I do, I just can't seem to lose weight, even when I'm eating healthy, meaning they're eating 600 calories a day. So I got them to believe that they needed to eat right, not healthy, not just healthy, but right. They needed to dial in their calories, get the proportions right for fat loss, and eat foods that are sustainable for them. And when they do this, they're going to start to be able to lose fat. And I teach it inside of what I call a flex fuel nutrition framework. Really simple framework to help you dial these things in. And now they wanted to buy in to my flex fuel nutrition framework. And I sold so many programs by using that method. It didn't sell the program. I sold the belief first, which changed the thinking, which got people to take action when I put call to actions on my content, or even when I didn't. They would just inquire. They wanted to buy into my framework. They wanted to buy into my ideology. And that got so many people over the fence, and it still does today. So I hope you found this extremely helpful. I could do a part 2 about the 4 different sales you got to make within your marketing. There's 4 of them. The belief was just one, but there's more. And if I can go into that, if you'd want to, just let me know down in the comments below, and I'm happy to create a part 2 to this. And if you want the doc that goes along with this, it should be around the description section, wherever you're watching this. Hope you have an amazing day. Bye for now.